Good evening and welcome to the Read Down. We're back for season 3. Thank you so much for joining us. We have so much to talk about, what's been going on since we've been away. Plus, we're going to have a Q&A tonight with some of the candidates who are running for office here at Stonewall. This is the Read Down. Welcome back. I'm Jonathan Welch, and this is the Read Down produced by the Stonewall Democratic Club. It is great to be here and great to have you. We have a very different episode coming up today, so I'm going to cut right to it and welcome my co-host, Ebony Murphy-Root.
Happy Tuesday!
Happy Tuesday! It is so good to see you.
Yes, I'm live from Connecticut.
That's right. Ms. Murphy-Root, she is on summer vacation. How is it treating you?
I don't know how much of a vacation it is. Being with your family is not a vacation. I saw that tweet, and it is very true, but I am having a wonderful time seeing family and friends nonetheless.
Very good. I always miss New England, even when I don't, even when I complain about it, if I feel like I need a break from it, which I feel like right now I need a break from it. So I'm not there. I haven't gone there this summer and I won't go there till fall, but I always, feel a little nostalgic about it. So it's nice to see that you're there and you're enjoying the homeland.
Indeed. I've enjoyed a Yingling and all that good stuff. So
that's perfect. What about a Sam Adams?
No, Sam Summer. Yes, a Sam Summer, the seasonal Sam.
Sam Summer. A nice light Sam Summer is always good. I'm also a fan of the Oktoberfest. Give me like a cinnamon sugar rim. Am I like totally disgusting?
Oh no.
Have you ever tried that?
No, haven't tried it.
So you can do a pumpkin beer.
Yes.
Yeah, a pumpkin beer. It doesn't have to Sam Oktoberfest isn't like blatantly pumpkin, but if you get yourself a pumpkin beer and then make that rim on the glass, I'm telling you,
very New England. I could be convinced.
Super New England. I'll come to Long Beach. We'll recreate it sometime in October and we'll pretend it's like 55 degrees out. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
Good. All right. So Ebony, tonight it's you and me. This is a little different than the way that we usually do things. So what we're going to do, because we have elections coming up at the Stonewall Democratic Club, so we figured it would be a really good opportunity to ask questions of some of the people who are running for office. We put out invitations to all the first-time candidates and all of the candidates in races that are contested. And we have potentially three candidates who are going to join us throughout the broadcast tonight, and we're going to ask them some questions. But before we do that, let's talk about what we missed, shall we? Because there's so much that I think we have to talk about. I've done my very best to just kind of put the blinders on and try to exercise a little self-care, but it's impossible to get away from the news. And I think one of the biggest things that is happening right now are the voter suppression efforts that are going on in state legislatures all throughout the country, specifically red states, because those are the states where they're actually moving through and they're becoming law. We've seen some pretty egregious stuff happen in Georgia. It's happening in Texas. And recently, last week, the Texas Democrats, or a significant number of the Texas Democrats in the state legislature, decided to vacate Texas so that there would be no quorum, so that this special session that the governor, Greg Abbott, who really sucks. Greg Abbott is horrible.
He's something. He's like a cartoon villain from, a Harper Lee novel.
He really is, right? Like, do you remember, it was just a few months ago when and I actually was in Texas shortly after this happened, the winter storm hit and the power grid totally went down. And it's like, you are the governor of a huge state full of people. It's the second most populous state in the country.
Yes.
And you aren't doing anything to address the fact that like your power grid is a flimsy, wet piece of paper.
Well, yeah, because the role of the state is not to help the citizens, right? It's just to allow you to get guns. So why should the state help you with an ice storm? Do it yourself. Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me. There was something that I loved and I shared it recently, and it was an eagle that was swooping down to kidnap the snake, and it was like, tread on them lots, actually. So loved that. But no, it's true. Like, I mean, you have they're making it so easy to get guns. They're taking away the permitting structure, essentially, right? They're also writing into some of this legislation that if you are going to get violent against voters and against people who are present on election day, that you have like a free pass once. So is this the purge?
Get your licks in.
Get your licks in. I mean, it really... It's quite disgusting. So you had 20-something Democrats in the legislature pick up, leave their lives, and go and
skip their
fly
weddings,
to Washington.
Bring their kids. It's kind of great because we get to see some amazing state level legislators, and we see how important it is to have smart people at the state level, right? Like everyone wants to be senator, everyone wants to be governor, but you need smart people in those state houses. And we've got this amazing woman, Sophronia Thompson, who's like this amazing, sort of stateswoman-like older Black woman, and you've got all these younger folks in that legislature, and they're talking so eloquently on MSNBC and all the cable stations. So hopefully they'll become national names and get some donations, and really we'll get to see that, the state level folks need our support all the time, year round, not just during election years. And the other great thing is, I just keep thinking of Reverend Warnock, who we all work so hard to get elected, he said it so simply: some people don't want some people to vote. And that's it, right? We don't even need to say all the other stuff. That's what it is. And so some people don't want some people to vote, and we have to fight back when that happens. So let's go.
I mean, and that's really the whole game. It's like, what can we do to rig the system to make sure that some people, that the right people are suppressed? And it's almost like they looked at what former President Trump did to, I never liked calling him President Trump, and now I love calling him former President Trump, because it's just like, you're not the president anymore. But it is. I
like when Mary calls him Donald. Or
she's
just everyone's cousin Mary now.
I also love like when people just call him like the former guy.
Oh, yes.
Or the Florida man. So, he did a really substantial job of suppressing voters in that Georgia election, where we elected Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff. When you talk about fraud and that's all you talk about, then people are going to feel like their votes don't matter. And that seems to be the only thing that they're talking about on that side, is just fraud. And we have to fix the fraud. And it's like, so you're continuing this narrative, but then at the same time, they're doing whatever they can to suppress the votes on the left. And I always feel like good organizing will always find a way. But what scares the ever-living shit out of me is the fact that in Georgia, at least, and I know this is happening in other states as well, they are taking the power away from the appointed or elected bipartisan officials who normally oversee elections, and they're putting it in the hands of partisan Republicans, basically like the only people that are going to be able to do this, to decide elections are Republicans. And if we don't like the outcome of the election, if we don't like the way the vote is, then we can just overturn it. That scares me.
Say the quiet parts out loud, right? They tell us. So Mitch McConnell said, after elections, the losers go home. But when they lose, they don't go home. They just change the rules. And, you know, when we win, we go, oh, we need to get along with the other side and engage in bipartisanship. No, we don't. I want us to make the losers go home and win when we win. So let's see if we can act like we won the last election, because we did win decisively. And yeah.
We did, you know, I mean, and it ain't over, right? Like, I mean, we do have these state laws that have been passed, that are continuing to be passed, that people are trying everything they can in order to prevent them from actually getting on the books. But you also have the Department of Justice that's working on this. You have some very talented civil rights attorneys and voting rights attorneys who are looking at this and saying this is a blatant violation of the Constitution. This is a blatant violation of the Civil Rights Act. This is and the Voting Rights Act, and all of these other pieces of legislation that are just have become storied in the land, in the law books. And so there's some hope there. The folks in Texas, led by Sanfronia Thompson, who you mentioned, who has been a super effective state lawmaker for 50 years. And she, like, I think she started in her 20s. Like, she's an incredible woman. She and all the rest of them lobbied Joe Manchin. And he was like, you know, this is something that needs to be done. He feels it. So we'll see, right? Like, we'll see what happens. The other things going on, we've got the Delta variant. We now have to wear masks again in LA County. When you come back, you'll see that, Ebony.
A lot of people are wearing masks here in Connecticut, and I'm glad. I went to Walgreens today, and people are masked up, and thank goodness, because, you know, we just don't know. And you're in the grocery store, and it's the honor system, and who knows? I know that all these people walking around maskless are not vaccinated. So if that's all I have to do to be safe is wear my masks, and I've got a great little mask wardrobe now, then yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
I'm doing it anyway, right? And I think we've talked about this before, like, so you're doing it, I'm doing it. I feel like it's just kind of the thing to do when you're in enclosed space. Like, it feels like second nature at this point anyway. So it's like, why don't we just keep doing it? But also, you know, why did we ever think that we could have the honor system when it came to unvaccinated people? I think that there are a lot of people who don't believe in this anyway, and they could very well be carrying it, and probably are carrying it. And they're the ones that are, oh no, you were muted.
There's my dad. All right.
There he is. Okay.
He's bellowing.
Nothing like being home. Your dad's yelling, my dogs are barking. I don't know what's going on. They're just sitting there looking out the window, and I can't reach them, and I can't be like, hey, you guys have to quiet down.
I explained to my dad how this was going to work, but maybe he forgot.
Well, listen, we can never count on parents to know, right? We can never count on parents to actually to do it right, but we love them nonetheless. And it's so good that you're out there. I'm glad that everybody's masking up in Connecticut, that you're feeling safe where you are, that you're being safe when you're flying. My beloved Provincetown, which is where I was supposed to be last week and decided not to go. And I'm very thankful of that, because there has been a COVID outbreak in Provincetown, and it's going through the vaccine. So obviously the people who have been vaccinated, it's just like a cold to them, but they're still carrying it. And it's like, it's a scary thing. So are you...
Yeah, this is not over. I think everybody wants it to be over. Everybody wants it to be normal, and it's not over, and it's not normal. So we just have to keep making safe choices and thinking about other people, even if wearing a mask is uncomfortable, or even if we're already vaccinated and we don't want to think about it anymore. We just have to be mindful.
We have to. We really do. And, I think that we were a little quick to just remove masks and just to kind of go back to normal, like I understand the merits of setting a deadline like we did for June 15th, but we also had to see, I think we had to have a more gradual taper off. So now we're back to masking, and we'll see what happens with that. But it's time, Ebony, for us we didn't even get to talk about Jeff Bezos on his penis ship for 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, we'll have time later.
We're still gonna open the library later, and I have a feeling that that's probably going to come up. So as I mentioned at the top of the hour, we are having elections here at the Stonewall Democratic Club next week for all of our officers. And I should disclose that I am a candidate for Vice President of Communications. So I am administering this broadcast, but I am not participating as a question candidate. So I just wanted to get that out there. We do have a candidate who is running for the first time as an officer of Stonewall. She is currently the chair of major events. I think I have that right.
A very good chair, let me say.
A very good chair of that committee. She is incredibly effective. She's running for Vice President of Finance. Let's welcome Devin Adante. It's Devin. Hi, Devin.
Hi.
I'm so glad you decided to join us tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry. You're ready. You're ready.
Okay, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous because, like, we're all friends.
I'm not really
here.
like a camera person, but you guys are my buddies, so we're just here to kiki and.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
You're the money person and the organizer person, so those are important traits.
Yeah. Every organization needs them.
That's right. So we're excited. That you're running for this, Devin. We're also excited because we know the work that you've done. But just, for the folks at home who are watching us who don't know who you are, I'm wondering if you can tell us about yourself, give us a little bit about your background, tell us how you got involved in Stonewall and how you kind of came to your current position.
Yeah, so my background is I have a big back office background. I've done, paralegal work, executive assistant work, operations manager work throughout my career, and had a business as a professional organizer for a long time. So so people hired me to get them organized, and the skill sets they go in a lot of different directions, and so those are the kinds of things I've done career-wise. But it's led to me doing events. Also, I was the chair of fundraising and events at the Santa Monica YWCA for a few years. And I've done fundraising in different smaller capacities before that. But then I worked as an event manager for a marketing firm. And, they really helped develop my brain and seeing all of the avenues that it takes to put on an event and mix with fundraising. And I learned a lot there. And so now my brain just sort of works that way. And so that's why I think I'm, thinking about new things for the role of VP of Financial Development at Stonewall.
I think it's also important to say before Ebony starts that, like, as an organizer in the political organizing space, you're the person who comes in, you organize everything, like, versus like, organizing people to action, but you organize, like, you did that for the communications team. And you're just really, a really excellent job. So I'll kick it over to Ebony.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, Devin, what do you hope to do as VP of Finance? Like, to me, finance sounds like money. What does that mean? How will you work across the various channels of Stonewall as the VP of Finance? Tell us what that means and what your plans are.
Yeah, well, I think what that means to me is that I'm hoping to collaborate with different departments. Because like I said, when I worked for that marketing firm, I learned about all the different channels, and my brain just sort of works in this way where I see how things connect and I see gaps and I look to fill gaps, and those are sort of just my skill sets, and it follows me, everywhere I go. So for this role, as I've been chair of major events, we haven't had someone in the VP role of financial development, which would be the step above. And so I've had to do fundraising. as part of the job because we didn't have someone doing it. You know, there's kind of a well-oiled machine that happens at Stonewall, and that's great. But I see just other opportunity. And so to me, what that means is I'm hoping that the incoming VP of Community will be open to maybe, you know, developing events and outreach events together. I'd really, you know, like to see people signing up to do community work with, you know, our members in Stonewall shirts, doing things in community, getting the word out about the club, but also participating in needs in the community, making relationships, and I can turn those relationships into money. But the relationships are at the heart of it all, and community is at the heart of it all. I also see it as a way for working with the leadership program that Stonewall has, which, you know, I was in and you were in, Ebony. And, you know, if we're constantly meeting people and we're constantly out there, we can get new potential leaders to develop for the community. And I'd really like to see us do more of that. And the one other thing that I really care about doing is creating, which Alex has on his platform, is the Stonewall Cares Fund, which would be something that our members would contribute completely separate to dues. You know, what if we were each contributing just $5 a month? But, you know, you can choose what you contribute per month. But it can be a fund so that when there is a need, if someone is experiencing, you know, food insecurity, or, you know, it needs help paying medical bills, or that we can help and also be a support system. Someone contacted Stonewall recently, and you know, a gay kid was kicked out of his house, and he had a couple of days before the LGBT center could process his paperwork and find him a space. And he didn't know where he was going to live. And one of our members was able to help him directly, but it was just like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we had money put aside for situations like this, and we can take some stress off of people's back in the community and just say, hey, we can also help. And that's not to say that, you know, my involvement in this role would make the club any less political, like not at all. I just, you know, as I said, there's already an existing well-oiled machine for financial development and fundraising here. I just want to expand upon it. That's all. I just want to expand upon it.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, money is inherently political. I don't know how anybody could state that it's not. So that makes sense to me.
We unfortunately need money through all avenues of politics in order to get anything done. And I say unfortunately because we always talk about like getting money out of politics, but it does, you know, we do need those people who are running finance, who are smart about it, and who also understand that the money that an organization brings in can do some really good in the community. And so I think that that's a really wonderful tie-in, Devin. My question for you, next question, is just thinking a little bit more broadly, with a little bit of more of like a world and national view or a local view to LA County. What do you think are the most pressing issues that are happening out there right now, and will be happening for the next few months and couple of years, that you think Stonewall needs to focus on, and how do you see yourself in your role helping us to achieve those goals?
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of homelessness in this town right now. It's a major, major, major problem. It's national news, what's going on in Los Angeles. And I'm, you know, would hope that the Stonewall Cares Fund that Alex and I have talked about developing can be something that, you know, we can, in the relationships made with other organizations, we can, you know, be a phone call that they make when, you know, they're looking to get an immediate need filled for someone. I also think voting rights is a really big thing that we all need to be standing behind, because it's getting harder every day. The Republicans are coming after it big time, and we just need to, you know, the fight for democracy is very real, and we need to be supporting that. I also am just very into the labor movement, and like the West Hollywood City Council vote that happened yesterday, I thought was amazing, and I care about the labor movement that's increasing here personally, and it seems like the city's kind of getting on board with that, and maybe we can be a part of that too, because anything that strengthens labor rights for people in a world where billionaires are going to space, but homelessness is if the homelessness in the city is national news, those two things existing at the same time, we need to do something to bridge the gap. And that just means getting involved in pressing the issue.
Excellent tie-in with today's news, for sure. Yes, our club is social, but it's also political, and we want to be actively involved in the community. So I want to ask you, Devin, what can you bring to this role that is unique to you and that hasn't been brought to this specific leadership role before?
I don't know what's been brought before, but I know that I want to create great events that, we raise money for the candidates that we believe in, that are really going to do work for this community, that we have fun at the same time. The news is so serious all the time, and it's nonstop. Any time of day, I'm getting notifications to my phone. I can't look through my Facebook without reading some sort of bad news. And so I do want to create events that are fun and get us together and get us more in community, because I know, we're tired of quarantine. So constantly figuring out what's the safest way that, we can get together. I want to figure that out and make that happen for us, because I think being together is important, laughing and having fun amongst, we deal with serious issues. And I do think there's space for fun within all of that. And so I want to create good content and bring, good musicians. And I just want people to walk away from an event and they remember it. Because this is Los Angeles. People are going to events all the time. And I want to make memorable events.
And you already have, Devin. I mean, you've done such a great job as chair of major events for Stonewall. And I can say you're super smart. You're super fun. You are a great person to work with. And it's just been so great to have you here to talk to us tonight about your candidacy. And I know you said you were nervous, but you're great. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you guys. I'm excited to have you here.
Yes. Very, very. It was great having you, Devin. Thank you so much. And come back sometime if we didn't scare you enough.
Okay. Got it. Alex on Monday, everybody. See you later.
Bye, Devin. Thank you. Oh, Devin's so wonderful.
She's great. She's great. She has tremendous skills that she's not even aware of, for sure.
Yes, which are the best kind of people, the humble folks who love to do the work and who just put their heart into everything that they do. And so, I really appreciate all the work that she's done, especially, like I mentioned, she was part of the communications team early on in her time at Stonewall, and she really kind of whipped us together and got things organized and gave me a really good feeling about how we were going to go about doing all the things that we wanted to do.
So. And I was super impressed with was that the winter fundraiser? Was that just January? Time is weird now, but that was a great fundraiser that we had. It was really well put together, and she did great work along with Freddie on that. So
she did it. That was a phenomenal job. We also had the drag queen bingo fundraiser. If you remember that was also fantastic. So a great job, and I'm really excited to see what Devin brings to that role. So I'm really glad that she was able to join us.
Yep.
Next
up.
Next up.
We've got our good friend Alex Mohajer joining us, the man, the myth.
That's right.
Raised in Orange County, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his candidacy for president of Stonewall. Alex, are you with us?
Hi, guys.
Hi, Alex.
It feels so
fancy
weird.
meeting you here.
It feels very weird to not be controlling this broadcast.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we should say Alex is a host of the Read Down, as you know. I mean, you saw it in the intro, and if you watch us before, you know that he's always around, but he's also always the person who is, along with our stage manager, Peter, kind of just popping in clips and, giving us a lot of directions. So it's kind of funny that we have you as a guest, but see, it's exactly what he did. And that's kind of weird because it's right over Ebony's head. So it makes, it's like Ebony's body and Hillary's head's much bigger. So that was a strange look. Okay.
All right, Alex, put on your guest hat now. Tell us a little bit about your background, your life before Stonewall. I know it's very compelling. Tell us how you came to Stonewall. I'm not sure I know about that. And, what you've been working on since you've been involved with Stonewall. Who are you?
Who am I? 24601? I'm just kidding. That's a musical theater joke. So who am I? So my mom came to the United States from Iran. She immigrated here in the 1970s to escape an oppressive regime that was taking over in that country. And she came here speaking not a lick of English, and Ebony has met her, and so has Jonathan, and we've broken bread with her. And she raised 4 kids on her own and, worked multiple jobs and went to school at night so that we could have, good housing and live in a good middle class town and have a good education. And so a lot of the reason I'm here actually is because of my mom's sacrifice. And so I'm really proud to be running for this. I never really thought that I would be doing that. But I've been an activist my whole life. My first real involvement with any political activism or campaigning, I was 18 years old. John Kerry's 2004 presidential election with Move On, and I was making phone calls with MoveOn.org. And so my very first intro to politics was a very disappointing loss. And I was at UC Berkeley as a college student, protesting the Iraq War and, volunteering with state Senate candidates, Democratic state Senate candidates up in the Bay Area. And then I went to law school, and I have been working for the last 9 years as an advocate for the county of LA, doing protected class hearings for the Civil Service Commission, anything that's sex harassment, discrimination, retaliation. I try those cases. And I came to my political activism, I helped organize for Hillary Clinton's campaign with an organization based out of LA. And that got the attention of Hillary's campaign, and we ended up partnering with her digital team. And I was in New York City at the Javits Center in Manhattan at Hillary Clinton's election night party to watch her lose. And that sort of sprung an entire new career as a political journalist, which and kind of using the intersection between commentary and digital spaces to push messaging. So I was really involved as an operative, worked with Pelosi's team doing messaging around the impeachment trials, and the 2018 midterm elections, interviewing congressional candidates and helping flip the House there. And that was really what brought me to Stonewall. I hadn't really heard about Stonewall, even though I've been in LA for like 10 years. And something about the Stony Awards or something crossed my Facebook feed, and it was asking for people who want to get involved. And I thought it was a really good idea to get involved with LA County LGBTQ politics. And I submitted my name, and I got a call in 2019 to join as the public media relations chair of the Stonewall Democratic Club. So that's where I've been for the last 2 years. Have I rambled? Have I gone on too long?
No, not at all.
I've learned some new information about you during that background. Very helpful. Kind of unfair to drop your mom in there because she's so awesome and inspirational. But thank you for all of that.
Yes, I will. I'll second Ebony. She's a very kind lady. and Ebony did get to break bread with her. I barely did. I didn't get to take her up on her barbecue offer, but still out there. Alex, I have a question for you. I'm sorry.
Jonathan Welch came over to my mom's house in the backyard, social distanced, on election night, where we obviously didn't have the results come in that night. And Jonathan was so stressed out that he had to leave about an hour, and he's like, I can't do this.
Yeah, listen, every election night, and I knew this before, but I was like, of course, I'll come over. Of course. Yes, of course. But I just need to sit in a dark room by myself and like rock myself into comfort. So that's just how it has to be. We do have a comment that can we vote for Alex's mustache? That is an option. It is attached to Alex, so you can vote for Alex if you wanted to. Alex, my next question, this is a contested race. I should mention this to our viewers that the race for president here at Stonewall is a contested race. We reached out to Lester Aponte, who is the current president running for re-election at Stonewall. He declined our invitation to join, so we did not get the opportunity to have him meet us. But what I want to know, Alex, is what was it that made you decide that you wanted to run for president? What sets you apart from the incumbent?
Look, the real truth of the matter is that the world is a different place in 2021 than when I first joined the steering committee. And last summer particularly, my world view was cracked open. I think I've always considered myself an activist and a liberal and progressive and all the buzzwords, and I couldn't possibly be racist. I couldn't possibly participate in systems that marginalize people. And I just began to see last summer, really, ways in which we, as Democratic Party organizations, institutions, we are being asked to confront our own blind spots. We're being asked to confront ways in which we haven't done enough to enfranchise marginalized people. And for Stonewall, for an LGBTQ political organization, we have a unique responsibility to people of color and to trans people in particular. And so I started to see ways in which, we could be doing more. And I wanted to run for president because the incumbent is going into his third term. If it weren't for my candidacy, it'd be his third unopposed term. And so I just think that change is healthy for our club, and that 3 terms is maybe too many. And when we have these coordinated elections where, we have a distaste for contesting these races, we are not able to have a debate of our ideas or, have a healthy dialogue about our priorities. And since the last time Stonewall elected a president, we've had the Me Too movement, we've had the BLM protests, we've had a assault on our nation's capital, we've had Trump, we've had assaults on voting rights, these bills that are assaulting transgender rights. We've got this Ed Buck hearing that I hope Jasmine Koenig will speak about more in depth, but that I think that members of our community need to be confronting for multiple reasons, because of what it says about our community's silent epidemic of drug and alcohol addiction, but also our silent epidemic of unresolved racism. And we can't change these institutions if we don't start having a dialogue about where we have fallen short. So I ran to have us have that dialogue. And because I believe I can, take this club into a forward-facing direction. I think we can work, like Devin said, we can have a collaborative e-board where we work with our community VP, with our finance VP, with comms VP, and all of our steering committee members to, go out into the community and do community-based coalition building outside of just West Hollywood. I think we have a reputation of being a white man's gay West Hollywood club. But we could be doing much more to bring in lesbians, people of color, trans folks, young people all over Los Angeles County, in Long Beach where I live, in Pasadena, the San Gabriel Valley, in the Antelope Valley, which, by the way, we're going to have a hotly contested House race there in the next midterm. We could be going out and doing that community-based coalition building. We could be our our leadership training program and creating steering committee positions for graduates of that program. So we're not just cultivating tomorrow's leaders, we're actually giving them a seat at the table. I love the idea of a direct services fund where, like Deb mentioned, the Stonewall Cares Fund, where we can have a fundraiser and give back for the young men, to the expenses of the families of the young men who were murdered by Ed Buck. That's a way our club could be giving back. We could be raising money to help our community. We could be raising money to reach out to our community. And so I have lots of ways in which I feel like we could be doing more. We could be focusing more on LGBTQ candidates and causes, reforming our elections and bylaws processes. So first thing I want to do is appoint an ad hoc committee that goes through our bylaws line by line and proposes a series of amendments to make us more accessible, transparent, fair, and inclusive. So I want to first implement term limits so we don't have to have another awkward conversation in a couple of years about how many terms is too many. I think that keeps us honest, and I think that incentivizes participation and growth. It incentivizes debate. It incentivizes democracy. And I want to create a steering committee position called the Diversity Task Force that is tasked with going out into the community and bringing in more people of color, more trans people, more BIPOC, more young folks. And let's just crack this open. I'd love us to be much more transparent. I would love for these elections to be more transparent, our endorsement processes to be fair and more transparent. And that's really the crux of what I'm going to do with this presidency over the next 2 years.
It's excellent.
And do lots of this. And keep doing lots of Devin.
Do lots of that. Ebony, you are...
Oh, I'm muted. Okay, so you treaded into this a little bit, Alex, but what are some of the most pressing issues in our community that you think Stonewall needs to be a part of and work on? You talked a little bit about the Me Too movement. You talked about centering folks of color and trans folks. Is there anything else?
Stonewall was a riot. It was a riot in response to an oppressive surveillance police state. That riot was led, our movement was led by trans people and trans people of color in particular. Stonewall has a unique responsibility to that community. That community is under unprecedented assault. Voting rights for people of color and trans rights are being assaulted in hundreds of bills by GOP-controlled state legislatures across the United States. We need to be paying attention to that. We need to be screaming from the rooftops about that, and we have a unique responsibility to stand with those communities. So in my mind, that's what we should be paying attention to, voting rights and this spat of anti-trans bills. And our community should be paying attention to the Ed Buck trial. And it's really difficult to read. I hope Jasmine talks about it more, but we need to be talking about this. And we need to be talking about the ways in which our systems have allowed this kind of behavior to continue. So other than that, I think voting rights, trans rights, and more, we can't just be talking about DEI. I think we need to be taking meaningful steps towards actually expanding our outreach. And that's, thanks, Kelsey. Certainly not less, Kelsey Bryan-Zwick. So that's kind of where my mind is today.
Alex, thank you so much. Yeah, I wish we could continue. You know how it goes here on the Read Down. We end up running out of time much faster than we realize we are running out of time. So, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you the best of luck. And the election is Monday.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, Alex. Thank you. All right. So, just to reiterate, we had Alex Mahajer on. He's running for president of the Stonewall Democratic Club. The current sitting president, Lester Ponte, declined our invitation to have us hear from him. So we're going to move to our final candidate tonight is running for one of the at-large seats. And we're very excited to bring her on. I've been wanting to have her on for a long time. Jasmine Canick.
Hi.
There she is. Hi, Jasmine.
Yeah.
I can hear you. How are you?
Great. I'm good. I just want to let you know I'm sitting in a restaurant with the families. We just got out of court. So
Yes.
but I wanted to jump on here because you asked. So I just want you to know if the background noise is because of that. We get out of court pretty like around 5:30 every day. So yeah.
I mean, listen, you sound great. I'm not really hearing a ton of background noise, so I think we're good. And we just have a couple of
Okay.
questions for you. So I'm going to get
Okay.
started here. So, my question is, I know you have a background in journalism and activism. I met you a little while ago. I kind of was a fanboy. I was like, you're fantastic. You do some great journalistic work, which hopefully you can tell us about a little bit. So I'm thinking, with your background and what you've done, can you tell us like what brought you into Stonewall, and how did you get involved with our organization, and what do you plan to bring to the role of an at-large board member?
Right. So my background is actually in politics. It's in politics and journalism. So, and I've never really been an activist, but I know people always call me that. But yeah, I work in politics. I worked in Congress. I've worked in the state assembly. I've worked for 5 mayors, countless city council members. I do a lot of political strategy. And then in terms of journalism, look, I've always been a writer. I've always had an opinion. And I try to use my influence and my voice for good, right? To tell stories that would normally not be told. That's always been something I focused on. In terms of Stonewall, I was on the board of National Stonewall. So at one point, I was co-chair of Black Caucus for the National Stonewall Democrats, way, way, way back in the day. Why I got involved with Stonewall locally here in LA was plain and simple is because of Ed Buck. And I was really disappointed in the response from the group, particularly Stonewall's leadership, as it related to Ed Buck when Jamel Moore died in 2017. And I'm one of those people where I'm not going to sit around and complain. I mean, I might sit around and complain about you, but I'm not going to just do that. I'm going to actually get involved. And I really think Stonewall has a few problems. And one of the problems that they have is that people get in these positions and they stay there for life. And I think that if nothing else, over the past 5 years, we've seen that this world is changing. And I think Stonewall leadership needs to change. I think it needs to change as far as it relates to women, as far as it relates to Black people and other people of color, as well as people of various age groups. And so I just thought I would get involved. I didn't run for any particular position because I know my workload, I know my schedule, and I wouldn't want to take on anything more than I can handle. So I thought, okay, I can do this at-large thing, which is why I didn't run for like president or vice president or anything like that, because I'm aware of what my limitations are, because I sit on some other boards now. I'm the political vice president for LawPAC, which is the Los Angeles African American Women's Political Action Committee, and I sit on a couple of other boards. So that's why I got involved. I really like I said, I was with National Stonewall before all that stuff happened, and then locally, when it was clear what was going on with Ed Buck, it was so hard to get this organization to do the right thing. And I feel that part of the reason that happened is because not enough of us are involved at certain levels to make sure things like that don't happen in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, like, you are right in the thick of covering Ed Buck right now. So you've been reporting on this, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on that right now before I kick it over to Ebony.
Yeah, Ed Buck is way worse than I even thought he was. The things that we've seen in court, the videos that we've watched, the text messages that we've read, the call logs that we've seen. Just today we looked at a call log on the night, early morning of Timothy Dean's death, and he was calling West Hollywood Councilmember John Duran with a dead body in his house. We had a victim get on the stand today and testify that he was scared of Ed Buck because he's a politician, because that's how he presents himself to his victims. Like, he's powerful. I'm this politically connected dude. So this particular victim was asked a question by the defense, and his answer was just, what am I supposed to do? I can't go up against him. He's a big time politician. So it's definitely been very eye opening. It's been very depressing and very sad, which is why we come to the bar every day after court. We sit and we talk about it. But, you know, I haven't seen anyone from Stonewall here. And it's very interesting to me because I wish the people who defended him in the beginning of all of this would have been here to see that he had over 2,400 videos of himself, you know, torturing and just doing some god awful things to young, mostly young black men here, right in his apartment.
It's something that, no, I know. It's something, I'll give it over to Ebony, but it's something I think we need to talk more about, Jasmine. So I'm appreciative to you for the work you do.
Yes, and the work you have done, Jasmine, has made this story national news, and it probably would not be national news without your work. But to get a little bit more local, how can Stonewall, where should we focus our attention in the coming months? Definitely on this trial, but what are the other areas and issues most important to you that we as a Stonewall community should take action on?
Well, I think, oh, my earpiece fell out. Yikes. I think one of the things that I would like to see just as a member of Stonewall is that Stonewall even acknowledged that this trial is going on. One of the things I'm so disappointed in from the LA County Democratic Party, of which I'm an elected member of, the California Democratic Party, of which I'm a member of, and even the Stonewall Democratic Club, is that no one has issued any type of statement even acknowledging that this trial is taking place and the atrocities that happen to these men. And that, you know, in the spirit of justice, we want to see justice for all of Ed Buck's victims. I'm like, I can remember when Harvey Weinstein happened, people were falling all over themselves trying to issue Me Too statements and show that they were supporting women. And it's just not the same with the victims of Ed Buck. And I think Stonewall particularly has a responsibility just because of the role that he played in the club for so long.
Thank you for making that plain.
Yes. Thank you, Jasmine. Well, Jasmine, you know, we don't want to keep you while you're at the bar. We know that you got to get back to the folks who you're with. I'm just really appreciative that you came and took some time.
I really wanted to because I felt really bad because I got so tied up with the trial and I never even got to finish my candidate statement for my campaign. But it was just really bad timing. I decided to run for this seat and then this trial started. And this has really taken up all of my time because this is a very time consuming. This thing is so emotionally draining. And when you have so many different people to look after, to kind of consult, and make sure they're okay. So I said, okay, you got to do this because I want people to at least hear something from me. It's not like I ran and I don't have anything to say. It's just that I ran and then this trial started. So it's just bad timing. But I'm so happy I was able to make it. And thank you for extending the invitation.
It's our pleasure, Jasmine. Thank you so much. And you know, best of luck to you. Best of luck in continuing to cover the trial. I know that we will talk again. So thank you.
Thank you for being there, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I think the jury will have the case Thursday or Friday. We probably will have a verdict before the weekend.
Ooh. Wow. Well, we will keep our eyes peeled. I know we are watching it. So, you know, thank you so much, Jasmine, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Ebony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
She is really doing some important work, Ebony. It's
live from LA today. Yes. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've read, it's iamjasmine.com, JASMYNE. She is chronicling everything that's been going on in this trial day to day, and it is very it's shaking. So Well, I'm so glad that we had the time that we had with the candidates, but I wanted to bring Alex back. One of the benefits of having him as one of the hosts of the Read Down is that he has easy access to our StreamYard feed and can just pop right back in. But we had intended, and I wanted to be, of course, respectful of Jasmine's time, and so we had to get to her. But we had also intended to open up questions for Alex as a candidate for president. And we did have a question come in, so I am bringing Alex back into the stream. Alex, welcome back.
Hi.
Hi, what's new? It's been so long.
I died. It's been too long.
Yes, it's true. So we did open up to some questions from our audience, and Herb asks, can Stonewall be more active in reaching persons in our community who are lower socioeconomic or homeless, and if so, how?
Yeah, not only can we, but we should, and I'll tell you how. So like over the last month and a half, just during this campaign and after the restrictions here in LA started lifting, I started going out into the community all over LA County, not just West Hollywood. And I wanted to show up in spaces that Stonewall isn't used to showing up. And I think like we talk a lot about representation, and there was someone commenting in the chat about how representation isn't actually ending these kinds of systems. I actually disagree with that. I think representation is, yes, diversity in our steering committee, diversity in our leadership, diversity in our membership, but it's also about representation in terms of the places that we show up. And part of the work is just showing up. So when I talk about community-based coalition building, I've gone over the last month to Compton Pride, to Trailblazers, a fundraiser for Trailblazers, which is an LGBTQ youth group out in Pasadena. I've gone to Trans Pride, where I met with the National Trans Resource Hub and the Center here in Long Beach, which provide exclusive resources to trans people. And these are all spaces where Stonewall needs to be at. We need to be represented there. We need to have a booth there with our logo and a sign-up sheet. And how can we partner with these organizations to bring more people in so that they know that we exist, so that we can say, hey, this is a space for you. So there's another organization that we're going to hear from at our election meeting Monday night called Victorious, which helps to provide housing and other services to LGBTQ youths who have been displaced from their homes. We could be partnering with Victorious. We could be providing a space for people from Victorious to come into the fold and get involved in the electoral process. But we have to be willing to say the issues that matter to you matter to us too. And we have to be willing to take a stand for those issues and be open to those issues, and also be open to saying this is where maybe we haven't done enough, or maybe we need to be more outspoken. So I think the answer to your question, Herb, is going out into the community and recruiting out in the community is going to be really important. And that's what I'll say about that.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Glad to have you back for a moment.
Oh, can I say one more thing? To the gentleman who was in the comments talking about we are actually upholding systems of oppression, I disagree with you. So I'm of the mind that organizations like Stonewall can do the work of enfranchising marginalized people. I believe that if we want these systems and institutions to change, we don't necessarily burn them down. We reform them from the inside. We seek to be the change that we are looking for. And so, I think that that's really important. That's how I've always felt. I don't think the Democratic Party is perfect. I certainly don't think Stonewall is perfect. There's been a lot said about Stonewall, and there's a lot going around about Stonewall, and I hear it and I see it, and it's part of why I wanted to run. But we have to be willing to step up and be a voice of change. So that's my view on that, and I just wanted to say that. I think we participate in the systems, and we push for their reforms and measures to push them forward into the future.
Agreed. Thank you. I'm glad that you addressed that too. So thank you, Alex.
Me too. I love how performative has become this bad word when America is performative, guys. Like we put a flag on our car. I have my teacher mug. Like we virtue signal all the time. And I have good virtues and I want to signal them everywhere because I think they're good. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right.
You're so right. And at the end of the day, I think we have to just be willing to listen, to hear, to grow, to evolve. That's all we got. That's all we need. So people who are resistant to growing, to evolving, to changing because they're stuck in their ways, the time for that is over. The time for that is over. I'm interested in people who are willing to grow, to change, to evolve, to listen, to take it to heart. And you guys know me, I like cry like every day. I'm an emotional person and I take things to heart. And so, you know, if someone calls me performative, I've been called way worse. But, you know, that's all. That's what I care about.
Agreed. It's good. These are good points. Ebony, I'm glad you made that point too. Like, it is sometimes okay to lean into those things, and nothing is black and white. Nothing's binary. So, Alex, it was wonderful to have you. As usual with the read down, we've run out of time, and we usually open the library, but I think Ebony, I don't know.
We were so worried we wouldn't have enough.
We were so worried. And on top of that, like, I think you and I both wanted to just bitch about Jeff Bezos for a while.
We did. And Stephanie Rule, who was all breathless and like fangirling over him. It was kind of gross. Ugh, gross. Girl, cut it out. Too much.
I don't know about her. I really don't. There have been a lot of things that have come up on MSNBC over the years when she chimes in, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
get
yeah,
that in there.
It's not great. But listen, there's enough Jeff Bezos hate to just launch us into next week when we will be back and we will be able to talk to you all on Tuesday night. Ebony, thank you so much for coming back. It's so good to be back with you.
Live from Manchester, Connecticut. Just the best little town in Hartford County.
Manchester, Connecticut, home of... What is it home of?
The Klan. Moving on.
Wow.
Clanchester. Yes, they do.
Yikes. I had no idea. Well, listen. We got to get you out of there. You have to come back. You've got to come back to Long Beach.
Real history. Yep.
Yeah, come back to Long Beach. We are waiting for you, and we will. And I hope that you continue to have a safe trip back home. I want to thank the folks who joined us tonight: Devin Adante, of course, Alex Mohajer joining us as a candidate for president, and Jasmine Kanek as a candidate for an at-large seat. We'd like to thank Peter Denz, who's our stage manager, who is back making all of this happen. And also wanted to tell you that this is a production of the Stonewall Democratic Club, and you can join Stonewall for as little as $25 a year by visiting stonewalldems.org. Our elections are Monday night. Tuesday, we will tell you how they all shook out, and we will see you back on the Read Down next week.